My name is Anita Benefor, and I am one of the placement students at For a Safer Space. This presentation is going to be on a case study about a child with autism that I currently work with. So, some client information and diagnosis background. KT are the initials. His name and his information has been changed for privacy and confidential reasons. He is a 15-year-old boy, high functioning, autism, ADHD, and MID, which is mild intellectual disorder diagnosis. He is attention seeking, and some of the behaviors include not being able to sit still for long, mimicking peers and staff, and getting verbally and physically abusive or aggressive if he receives non preferred messaging. He is also unable to self regulate his emotions when he is upset. So this is his recent progress update. He has been having a really big decline at school in terms of behaviors. Um, he's been building on his independence skills with his daily routine and chores at home. And a really big area of improvement is with his parents and setting limits. So at school, there's been a huge decline in his emotional regulation. Some of the reasons behind this is he struggles with changes and transitions in his life. He's been doing online learning at home for the past month, and now that he's gone back to school, the teachers and the staff have noticed a really big dysregulation in terms of his behaviors. Whereas before the lockdown, he seemed to be very good at school. Recently, he also lost his a one-to-one worker, so he doesn't have that support in the classroom anymore. So they find that it's very difficult to keep him engaged and focused in one classroom. So some solutions the staff at the school have mentioned or have brought up to my staff team at work is they would like us to come to the school so that we can model some of the techniques we use in decreasing his behaviors. So, independent skill building. KT has shown a great level of improvement in being more independent with his hygiene routine and chores. He is now asking if he can do things on his own. Things such as, can I pick out my own clothes from the closet today? Can I do the garbage after dinner? Um, can I pour the soap into the jar for my hair washing and shower? And the reason why we don't give him these things is because children with autism, specifically dual diagnosis autism, tend to need their world shrinked. When you give them too many choices and too many options, they can't handle it, and then they show behaviors. So because of that, he has his clothes and like his hygiene things locked in a closet, and then when he's ready for shower, the staff who's working with him will support him and grab those things for him, because when we used to give it to him, he would pour the whole bottle out on his own. So it's been very nice to see that he's now asking for these things, whereas before he would just go and grab them or try and steal the keys and open it himself and get them. So that's a very big improvement on his part. And also, he's very good with cleaning. He is very proactive. When he finishes his food, he's a very messy eater. He will actually go to the kitchen and ask, can I sweep? Can I do the garbage? Like, that is something that we've seen a really big improvement on with him. Whereas before, he wouldn't do that at all. And the reason why we think it's working for him is because of his PEC program and his three strike consequence program. So this is more, the three strike program is more relating to his maladaptive behavior. So because we have other children in the home, we find that KT tends to mock. So now when he mocks his peer or he bullies them, he has three strikes, and within those three, he has three strikes per shift. So there's a morning shift, evening shift, and overnight shift. He has, once he reaches those three strikes, he doesn't get to do his main preferred activity. Because we're in COVID, we can't really take them out. So things like van rides are something he looks forward to, or movie night, and just other things that he prefers to do. If he is showing behaviors and is not improving in those behaviors, he will lose the privilege for that shift, and then he can build upon it for the next shift. So, parents setting limits. This is a very big ongoing goal that we are working on with the family and with him. His mom is very emotional and less logical, whereas his dad is extremely logical and less emotional. So it makes their interactions very hard on KT. Um, the issue here is that when they cannot get on the same page, it affects KT. He has more issues of incidents, being aggressive, and just overall a dysregulation in his mood when his parents don't seem to get along, especially in front of him. He has actually verbalized many times, "Why are you guys fighting? I don't like when you guys fight. It makes me upset." So the parents need to have more consistency in their dynamics so that it can overall work better for their son's mental health, because he will be transitioning back home. So they need to be able to fix this now before he gets home, and then it's an issue that they can't deal with. So why are the parents having so much difficulty with setting limits? For one, his dad is a little too firm. This ties back to his dad's struggle with accepting his dual diagnosis. The dad has always had hopes and dreams for his only son to be a certain way, specifically more like him. Dad is very numbers based, very logical. He doesn't like the fact that his son is very creative and very talkative. The things that his son has interest in, the dad has no interest in. So, for example, his son really likes the TTC. He really likes cars. He really likes talking about travel. So the dad has asked staff if we can teach his son to stop asking questions. Somebody who has autism and ADHD and MID, it is not possible for us to change him to that person. However, we do programming with him where we'll say you are only allowed to ask 3 or 5 questions, and then we move on to the next step. So that is something that we're working on with the father to kind of build on his level of skill with that. But again, because he is different from his dad really struggles with building a solid relationship. So when the dad sometimes comes and visits, KT doesn't want anything to do with him, or they get into arguments. So the mom will have to come and then deal with the backlash of that. So we're trying to get them both on the same page so that they can have a good relationship when KT does go back home. So staff are also working with the dad to learn how to focus on KT's strengths. So the things that he has interest in. He really enjoys nature. He really enjoys, you know, cars and technology and watches and things like that. So getting the dad to just be interested, or at least having some sort of conversation with him about it, in opposed to just telling him, "No, don't ask me those questions. Do not talk about that." Dad also needs to work on letting some of his control go. He doesn't need to always be right with him. Like, there was an incident where we went on a walk in the community and KT wanted to go right, dad wanted to go left, and dad made this whole big issue about us going the way he wanted to go instead of just going with what KT wanted. Sometimes we have to compromise with children who have autism, because again, this is something that they're struggling with. Their brain is wired than somebody or a person who doesn't have it. So things that might be minor are a big deal to them. So I think learning to lose control and not always wanting to be right will work in building their relationship. And mom also needs to work on setting boundaries. She doesn't have the strongest boundaries when it comes to her son. You know, mom is very emotional and shows a lot more care when she's dealing with KT. So they have a way closer bond. Whenever mom is there, and let's just say we have a schedule to follow when they come in for visits, if KT starts to get disruptive or dysregulated, mom will scrap that whole thing and then give in to whatever he's demanding of her. And because of that, KT is aware of that, and he will take advantage, or he will verbally aggress towards mom, call her names and things like that. So we've set up some different programming, or just different phrases and words she can use to deal with him when he behaves that way. Before, when he would cry and have temper tantrums, she would give in to him. Well, she still does that, but she's trying now not to do that. But she's firm with him, and she will tell him, "I am not going to speak to you until you show me some respect or until you calm down, I'm going to get off the phone. You call me when you are calm. He doesn't like it, but he is learning to deal with that when they are in that space. So he will either immediately apologize or he will get off the phone and come back to staff and call mom when he is calm. And the reason why I feel mom struggles is because she feels guilty that she has him in the residence. So she gives into his demands and requests even when she shouldn't, just to kind of ease her tensions. And mom is also struggling with anxiety herself. So just some solutions for the parents. The psychiatrists recommend that the parents reflect on how their interactions affect KT's mental state. Getting their feedback on this will also be important for them to be feeling included in the process of their son's treatment planning. And since that is very logical, showing him concrete data with numbers and stats from KT's progress with behavioral logs and charts that we've been recording over the past year will help dad better comprehend and understand why we feel or why we believe he needs to be more firm than just saying you need to be less strict with him. So here's an update on KT's school progress. Staff were actually sent to his school every other day for the past 2 weeks to model techniques and strategies to give him support while in crisis. The teachers noticed a significant improvement in his overall behaviors. Two main things they did. They stopped planned ignoring him, and that is when you ignore a child or a youth whenever they are in crisis, so that they realize that you are not giving in to their behaviors. It doesn't work every single time, but in this school setting, the teachers realized that planned ignoring wasn't working. So now when he does show maladaptive behaviors, they support him and they stay with him so he realizes that he is not in control. Also, they gave him more breaks within the school day just because he struggles with staying still and being in a confined space for long periods of time. So now what they do is when they notice that he is getting antsy, they will stop, or his one-to-one worker, if there's one available, or even if it's just a teacher, she will take him outside, let him exert some of his energy either in the gym or just take a walk around the school or just go outside for some fresh air and then come back. And then they notice that he's much more manageable and easier to regulate when in the classroom with the other students. That is the end of my presentation.